Welcome back to the PI Show, viewers. We're on that very contentious topic of harassment of whatever description in the workplace, in this case sexual harassment, and also bullying and the like in the workplace. Harry, we're going through the facts of the case of Fraser Kirk and Mark McGuinness. We got to the 23rd. Where are we at now?
Well, look, it's a very detailed pleading, so there's a lot of information in the pleadings, but the 23rd was the start of the whole saga. Then there was witnesses there, and she complained to one of her supervisors about it, and the supervisor gave her advice to ignore the advances of the CEO, in effect.
Not just ignore Harry, she actually gave the advice to say no.
Yeah, to say no, ignore and to say no, and be firm, I think, with him. Now, following the 23rd of May 2010, there were some allegedly emails from Mark McGuinness inviting her to Bondi, and then it all came to a head, I think, around about the 10th of June, where she got lawyers involved, and a lawyer sent a letter, I think, on the 11th of June to...
At around that time, she was still getting calls, Harry? Text messages? Was she?
No. Ted, the 11th of June, the board directed Mark McGuinness not to contact her again.
But that was after a letter was sent by her lawyers to David Jones.
Yeah.
It was on the same day.
And bizarrely, after the 11th of June, when the board of David Jones had notice, and they had their own lawyers, and the lawyers sent a letter saying that Mark McGuinness had been directed not to contact her.
He'll refrain from further contact.
Bizarrely, on the 14th of June, he sent 7 voicemail and text messages to her. We don't know the content of those messages. We're speculating, but...
he still went against the board's advice, though. I mean,
you should know.
Regardless of what the content has in there.
It doesn't sound a sensible course of conduct to me.
No.
And then on the 18th of June, Mark McGuinness resigned.
That's right.
I think there was a board meeting, there was a press conference, and I think there was the press conference raised some issues. According to the pleadings, the press conference made things worse for the plaintiff.
Well, it made allegations about, her not being...
Well, they're actually quite interesting, Tony. I mean, I'll just read out 3 that are actually quite prominent, and it makes you also question about her behaviour as well, and it's something where these are allegations, and we've got to remember that we don't know what's fact and what's not at the moment. But I mean, there's an allegation that Fraser Kirk had in part invited McGuinness' conduct, and he just misread her signals. There's also another allegation, but McGuinness's conduct towards Fraser Kirk was minor in nature, so that it alludes to that she's blowing it out of proportion. But quite interesting, in my view anyway, is that Fraser Kirk overreacted and was motivated to pursue a frivolous complaint to try and obtain money. Now, I mean, look, without being disrespectful, and obviously these are allegations.
I don't know how they can say that. How could she misread his signals? What signals? I mean, there's nothing in any of the material I've seen.
No, he misread her signals.
But that's what I'm saying. I can't find anything in the materials to indicate that there was any signals coming from her.
But this is all the allegations.
That's her plaintiff, yeah.
But that's right. I mean, these allegations are from the plaintiff's side, Tony. We haven't heard from his. How do we know that she wasn't flirtatious
but you know what's of
in
significance,
nature?
Harry? The plaintiff now, Fraser Kirk's now relying on this press release to say that she suffered more damage.
That's right, yeah.
So,
she says,
yes, that's correct.
It's
So what do you think?
Interesting. It's an interesting
can she
aspect
do
of the case. She can.
It depends on how the court will see it as well.
Interesting enough, she doesn't say they're defamatory.
No.
She doesn't raise the issue.
She hasn't raised defamation in this.
She doesn't raise the issue. She's raised every other issue, but not defamation.
We don't know if that's going to come down in due course, but
no, I'm not sure about that, because if you go to her particulars of loss and damage,
loss of reputation.
She says loss of reputation.
No, but
that's almost defamatory in itself.
No, you've got to plead it in a particular way.
Yeah, okay.
Defamation's very, very particular, and it would have to be very specific on that front.
How important is treatment in this case?
Well, look, there's a couple of things. She's got a lot of angles which she's pursuing.
Yep.
One is what's called loss of damage in terms of the torts. So, you know, the thing we're familiar with is
Well, there's a duty of care
A
to
duty
ensure
of
that you don't
care.
do any damage to someone in close proximity. She's an employee, he's the boss.
yeah. So she says that there is a breach of duty and that has caused damage.
Yep.
She also says there's trespass, which is the hugging
Yes,
incident,
yes,
which
intentional
is the
tort.
touching, and the touching of a body without permission or without.
Yes.
So she alleges that.
She's alleged that she hasn't consented to
Yeah.
his behaviour.
There's a breach of contract because when she signed on for the employment, there was
Representations,
terms about,
yeah.
That's right.
about how to conduct themselves in the workplace.
But the coming back to the damages, she doesn't really say she suffered a psychological injury as
Psychiatric,
such.
psychological. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
It's fairly vague on what damage she suffered. She says humiliation.
Has she been to a psychiatrist
She
or
has said
psychologist, do you
she's
think?
pleaded offence, humiliation, distress and anxiety.
that might cover some psychological
It could,
damage.
but it's not specific, is it? I mean, it's,
No,
it's
it's very
a very
vague.
all-rounded...
And all the rest claim loss of opportunity and other.
That's
What would
right.
she plead as
It's more
injury?
about career advancement.
Injury is a psychiatric/psychological nature, including but not limited to offence, humiliation, distress and anxiety.
That's how you'd plead it, Tony.
Yes,
That's how you'd plead it. But
Do you know if she's getting any treatment as such? You know, is she on
Miss
medication?
Kirk, if you need
or-
any further advice, we've got Tony Carbone here who'll be able to help you.
But I think she does say there's some medical expenses she's claiming, and she doesn't particularise that. It might be one visit to a doctor or it might be continuous treatment.
Well, that's right. I mean, she might actually be seeing a counsellor or a psychologist at the moment to try and overcome this. But, I mean, the other thing is all of the, I suppose, humiliation, if it didn't actually happen in front of other employees or they didn't actually witness it, is the humiliation actually stemming from the incident or the harassment itself, or is it actually stemming from the newspaper articles and the publicity to which she's actually created by raising such a claim against a high-profile organisation? So, I mean, it's
I
food
think that's
for
an interesting
thought.
point, but that is an interesting point because she doesn't really plead it happens or it's in the public domain.
No.
So
Look, there's a lot
There
of
are
issues, I mean,
incidents, but
you know,
there are
Liv Rosen
incidents
interests me.
and people were in proximity. Whether they saw it or not is another question. Whether they overheard any conversation.
That's right.
And as you say, text messages are between two people. So, you know, she mightn't have shown anyone.
well, it's not a third party. I mean, at the end of the day, defamation
it
rolls
needs a
onto-
third party.
That's
We've got to
right.
go to a
I
sponsor
agree.
break, haven't we?
Yeah. Look, we need to go to a sponsors break, and tonight we'll be doing something unusual, which is continuing this conversation about this high-profile case. And unfortunately, we don't have time for any questions. But Kathy, rest assured, is with us for the last episode as well. Thanks. See you after the break.